Breaking news! Things are heating up behind the scenes in Philadelphia, and I have some important updates to share with you today. We all know the Eagles are focused on returning to the Super Bowl. Get ready because 2025 is going to be a big year, and I'm going to share everything I've learned. But before we get started, make sure you've already hit that like button, only if you're a true Philadelphia Eagles fan. And if you've been a Birds fan for 20 plus years, leave a comment saying, "Go Eagles! I believe!" Let's get to it. The Philadelphia Eagles offseason is anything but quiet. While many teams are just beginning to shape their rosters, the Eagles have been executing moves that signal a full-scale recalibration after a bitterly disappointing end to the 2023 season. Following a 1-6 collapse to close out the year, capped off by a humiliating playoff loss to the Buccaneers, it was clear that business as usual would no longer be acceptable in South Philly. One of the biggest shifts came with a major change at offensive coordinator. Brian Johnson is out, and in comes Kellen Moore. Moore, fresh off a stint with the Chargers, brings a new philosophy to an offense that, despite its talent, stagnated late in the season. Sirianni is putting trust in Moore to revitalize Jalen Hurts and unlock the potential of a unit that still features top-tier talent like A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith. The pressure is on, and let's be clear, this isn't a small adjustment. This is a full-blown restructuring of the offense. Moore's arrival signals a move toward a more pass-friendly scheme, potentially leaning on concepts that emphasize rhythm, timing, and pre-snap motion, areas where the Eagles struggled mightily in 2023. But how will that mesh with Jalen Hurts' skill set? That's the million-dollar question. Hurts has shown flashes of brilliance, but inconsistency and questionable decision-making plagued him during the team's late-season slide. This partnership with Moore will be under the microscope from the moment Week 1 kicks off. And speaking of Hurts, there's no doubt this season is pivotal for him. Despite being signed through 2028, his contract includes team flexibility to move on as early as 2026. That makes 2024 a proving year, not just for Hurts, but for the entire direction of the franchise. Is he the guy? The front office isn't handing him a lifetime pass. The front office itself hasn't been idle either. General Manager Howie Roseman has been active, addressing glaring weaknesses on both sides of the ball. He moved fast to shore up a secondary that was exposed time and again last year, bringing in names like C.J. Gardner-Johnson and rookie Quinyon Mitchell. And the linebacker group, which was a sore spot all season, now features a savvy veteran in Devin White. The additions are meaningful, but it's on the coaching staff, especially new defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, to mold this unit into something cohesive and dangerous. Let's talk about Fangio. His arrival may be the most consequential move of the entire offseason. Fangio's resume speaks for itself, and his defensive philosophies are in stark contrast to the soft zone-heavy approach that defined the Eagles' collapse last season. Expect more disguised coverages, more too-high safety looks, and most importantly, accountability. Under Fangio, players won't be allowed to freelance. It's his system or the bench. Now, the draft. Howie Roseman might have pulled off another masterclass. The Eagles used their first-round pick on Toledo's Quinyon Mitchell, a shutdown corner with elite traits and sky-high potential. They doubled down in the secondary by taking Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, a versatile DB who can play outside, inside, or at safety. Suddenly, a secondary that looked like a liability could become a strength. And let's not overlook the additions of Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Jalix Hunt, two players who bring intensity and upside to the linebacker group. Trotter, in particular, is a fan favorite already, given his bloodlines and hard-nosed style. But as always in Philly, the expectations are massive. The margin for error is slim. Nick Sirianni enters his fourth season with the team, but make no mistake, his seat is warmer than it's ever been. After guiding the Eagles to a Super Bowl in 2022, the stunning collapse in 2023 raised serious questions about his leadership and his ability to manage adversity. He's now surrounded by new coordinators, and for all intents and purposes, this feels like a reset year for him as well. If the Eagles underachieve again, changes at the top could be on the table. Meanwhile, in the locker room, there's a quiet intensity brewing. Veterans like Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce, who officially announced his retirement, leave behind enormous leadership voids. The baton is being passed to the younger core, Hurts, Brown, Smith, and now even players like Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson. They need to not just play well, they need to lead. The locker room culture will be tested like never before. Can this team stay united through adversity? Can Sirianni command the respect of a group that seemed disconnected late last season? Those are real concerns, and the answers won't come until the games start to matter. And let's not forget the schedule. The Eagles open the season on the road against the Packers in Sao Paulo, Brazil, a historic international game that adds another layer of complexity to an already pressure-packed year. Travel, time zones, and unfamiliarity, all while trying to start the season strong. This isn't just another year. It's a defining one. What do you think, Eagles fans? Is this the roster and coaching staff that can bring the Lombardi Trophy back to Philly? Let me know in the comments. Do you want the second part of the report? The pressure cooker that is the 2024 season doesn't stop heating up, and every move the Eagles make this offseason only turns the dial higher. Now let's dive into the second half of this exclusive breakdown. When we talk about the team's identity, it's impossible not to look at the trenches. The offensive line has long been the gold standard in the NFL, and even with Jason Kelce's emotional retirement, there's optimism about continuity. Cam Jurgens is expected to slide into the center role, a move the team has been preparing for since drafting him. Next to him, Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson remain two of the league's most dominant blockers. But depth will be critical. Injuries derailed the line's consistency in 2023, and with aging veterans anchoring both ends of the line, younger players like Tyler Steen and Sua Opeta will need to step up when called upon. On the defensive front, Jalen Carter is the name you need to circle in bold. After a promising rookie campaign, the expectation is for him to take the leap from impact player to game wrecker. But Carter can't do it alone. Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and the recently signed Bryce Huff all figure to play major roles. Huff, who came over from the Jets, was one of the most efficient pass rushers in the league last year in terms of pressure rate. If he can translate that production to a full-time role in Fangio's scheme, he could be a steal. And don't sleep on rookie Jalix Hunt, whose raw athleticism and motor have already turned heads in early offseason work. The defensive edge room has a lot of question marks, though. Haason Reddick, once a staple of the unit, is no longer on the roster, and Josh Sweat, who looked like a rising star just a year ago, must bounce back after a second-half fade in 2023. Nolan Smith, a 2023 first-rounder, remains more potential than production at this point, but this season might be his opportunity to break out. Fangio will need to manufacture pressure creatively if the edge rush doesn't hit home consistently. At linebacker, it's a complete overhaul and a necessary one. Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham were emergency stopgaps last year, and it showed. Now, with Devin White and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in the mix, there's hope for stability. White, once a Super Bowl champion with the Bucs, has elite speed but has been inconsistent in coverage and decision-making. He's betting on himself with a one-year deal, hoping Fangio's system can revive his career. Trotter Jr. is a Philly story through and through, and if he can channel his father's instincts and aggression, he could be the heart of this defense for years to come. And then there's the secondary, the unit most in need of transformation. Darius Slay and James Bradbury were torched repeatedly in 2023, particularly down the stretch. Bradbury's regression was alarming, and while Slay remains a vocal leader, his best days might be behind him. That's why the additions of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are so pivotal. Both bring speed, physicality, and high football IQ. If they can develop quickly, Fangio will finally have the personnel he needs to run his complex coverages. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's return also cannot be understated. His energy, swagger, and versatility make him a difference maker, and his reunion with the Eagles seems to have brought a jolt of confidence to the entire unit. He's expected to line up at safety, but don't